Hello again. It's Monday, the 21st of January 2019, and I can't believe it's Monday already. Although I probably said that last Monday, but that was a really quick weekend. I'm going to speak about religion today, but what it is and what it's not. But first of all, I just had to share this because it cracked me up. I read a proverb every day. So today read the Proverbs 21 because it's 21st of Jan. I speak about that in one of my other videos, and there's just two verses that crack me up today. I mean, they're very true, but I just find them quite funny. I'm sure my husband will appreciate them, but it's Proverbs 21:9. It says, "Better to live on the corner of a roof than to share a house with a nagging wife." That cracks me up. And then the other one is, where is it? 19 as well. It says, "Better to live in a wilderness than with a nagging and hot-tempered wife." May I not be that wife. But I just find it quite amusing. Anyway, so yes, religion. And I wanted to speak about religion. Am I religious? And it's funny because initially, when I thought to myself, right, I'm going to speak about this, I thought, I'm going to say, absolutely not. I'm not religious. I follow Jesus. I walk in relationship with Jesus. I love him, but I'm not religious. That was exactly what I was going to say. And that's what many Christians will say too. But as I was preparing this and looking into what religion actually means, I've come to a slightly different conclusion actually, which is interesting. I started off with, I was thinking, why would I say I wasn't religious? Put it that way. What's the reasons for that? And I think the reasons for me are because that word has so many negative connotations now, right? I think of someone, if you're thinking of someone as religious, I think of them as probably being a bit stuffy, going to church out of duty because they feel they have to, they can tick it off that they've done it. Someone who's just a bit of a busybody do-gooder, probably wears socks and sandals or something. I don't know, it just conjures up this, I'm not religious. If people before have said to me, "Oh, but you're religious, aren't you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not really. I love Jesus, I'm not religious." Is what I've always said. And it is because of these negative connotations that come along with that word. So what better way to start off than actually look at the definitions of what the words mean. So 1 second. Yeah, so first of all, I looked up the word religion. Obviously, what does that mean? And it says, I'll read the whole thing and then I'll explain. It says, a set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature and purpose of the universe, especially when considered as the creation of a superhuman agency, so like deity, like God, usually involving devotional and ritual observances and often containing a moral code governing the conduct of human affairs. So if you slightly take that apart, the first bit, absolutely agree with. A set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature, purpose of the universe to do with a deity. Of course, absolutely agree with that. That's what Christianity is, right? And then usually involving devotional and ritual observances. So the word devotional, I like. The word ritual, not so. Because ritual, if you look up what ritual means, it means a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. So that kind of suggests you're doing something the same way every day because that's just what you do, because that's how it's done and there's no questions asked and whatever. And I don't like that. So I think that's, the word ritual, that's what the definition of it is. So I would say I don't really like saying that there's ritual observances. You could argue maybe there are, because if you're going to church every week, is that a ritual? Simply by the fact you're doing that, do you know what I mean? Devotional, what I should have done is, let me just really quickly do it now, is look up what the word devotion means, because that is the word that I think is better. Devotion. So devotion means profound dedication, consecration, earnest attachment to a cause, a person. Yeah, see that, yes, we should be devoted to God. So like that word, like that. And so that's what religion is. So I'm thinking, well, actually, I need to go back to that. Partly, yeah, that is what Christianity is. Sorry. Right, we're back. That's what it is. And also, obviously, containing a moral code governing the conduct of human affairs, for sure. For sure, that's what Christianity is, right? And then the other bit that it says a specific fundamental set of beliefs and practices generally agreed upon by a number of persons. Yes, that's what Christianity also is. Again, the word fundamental, I'm like, oh, I don't really like that, because, you know, that word again has got negative connotations. Being a fundamentalist, or, you know, a radical fundamentalist is has bad connotations. But if you look what fundamental means, I've written it down, hold on, forming a necessary base or core of central importance. Yeah, a central or primary rule or principle on which something is based. Well then, yes. So all these things, yes, 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 other than I don't like the word ritual, but I think, so then I thought, well, actually, I can't actually say that I'm completely not religious. From reading that, if you take the absolute definitions of what these words mean, I'm like, I can't say, no, I am absolutely, definitely 100% not religious. Okay, so that's where I got to. So I had to rethink what I was going to say, if I'm being honest. I think the conclusion I've come to is that there's a difference between, I think there's true religion and I think there's false religion. So if we start off by thinking about the false religion, what is that? And Jesus speaks a lot about this in the Gospels, which are the books in the New Testament that are speaking about Jesus' life and ministry. He speaks a lot about this. He makes it very clear. And that's why a lot of Christians will say, well, Jesus hated religion because of this. So the only way really to unpack that is to look at what Jesus actually said. So he was speaking to, there were people called Pharisees who were like a kind of a Jewish sect who were very, very strict in adhering to the Jewish laws of the time. And they were often the ones who were trying to catch Jesus out and get him to say the wrong thing, or they would follow him around waiting for him to do something wrong or say something wrong. And I think this day, Jesus must just have, he must just have had it with them. Like, he really, you know, gives it to them big time. He doesn't hold back. I'm not going to read the whole of Matthew 23, but I'll read just the bits I think that kind of explain best of all what he's speaking about. So he says, this is Matthew 23, and I'm going to start in verse 3. It says, "But don't do what they do, because they don't practice what they preach. They tie up heavy loads that are hard to carry and they put them on people's shoulders, but they themselves aren't willing to lift a finger to move them. They do everything to be seen by others. They enlarge their phylacteries," I think that's part of their outfit, sorry, I'm not sure what that is, "and lengthen their tassels," so I guess that's part of what they're wearing. "They love the place of honour at banquets, the front seats in the synagogues, greetings in the marketplaces, and to be called rabbi by people." And then I go to verse 13. "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You shut the door of the kingdom of heaven in people's faces, for you don't go in, and you don't allow those entering to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You travel over land and sea to make one convert, and when he becomes one, you make him twice as fit for hell as you are." And then to 23, it says, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You pay a tenth of mint, dill, and cumin, So quickly to describe, they practiced tithing, which is giving God 10% of everything that you have. Now we speak about 10% of our income is a tithe to God, but these guys were so strict with their tithing that they even tithed their herbs. This is what Jesus is saying, right? You pay a tenth of mint, dill, and cumin, and yet you have neglected the more important matters of the law: justice, mercy, faithfulness. These things should have been done without neglecting the others. Blind guides, you strain out a gnat, but you gulp down a camel. And then 25, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup, so that the outside of it may also become clean. It says, in the same way, on the outside you seem righteous to people, but inside you're full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. He even calls them, in verse 33, snakes, you brood of vipers. I mean, he's letting them have it. He's not holding back. And I think this, what comes down to this, and he called them, this word is hypocrisy. I think they were making out that they were holier than thou, that they were adhering to the law. They were doing all the things that the Jewish law was telling them to do. Their tithing, and I'm sure, and also Jesus speaks in another bit of the Bible about them praying, like they would pray in the public places, big, long, elaborate prayers, really loudly, and people would stop and listen to them. And Jesus said to them then, your hearts are far from me. You're doing this to win the praise of other people. So even their prayers weren't heartfelt, weren't genuine. So you can understand why Jesus was angry with that. And for sure there's an element of that in probably every religion, but I'm speaking about the Christian religion. Of course there's an element of that to this day in Christian religion. And sadly, I think it has just overcast the rest of it, or what it actually really truly does mean. It's been misconceived, and people have grasped onto that, which is, as I was explaining, false religion. But what is true religion? Like, what are we actually really trying to do here? That's not what we're trying. We don't want to live like this. We do not want to be hypocrites. We don't want to be judgmental, holier than thou. But wow, so often, sadly, the church can be seen like that. So we're trying to break the mold here. Jesus was trying to break the mold, he was a radical. He was telling these people, this is not enough what you're doing. In fact, it's wrong. It's not enough, it's wrong. So, he hated what they were doing. So that's absolutely right, but when it's a problem is when it becomes hypocrisy. So I think what comes from that is we have to look at what is true religion. And there are some verses that help with this. The word religion is not actually mentioned much in the Bible at all by any means. But in the Old Testament, there is a verse in Micah chapter 6, verse 8. And it says, "And what is it the Lord requires of you? To act justly, to love faithfulness, and to walk humbly with your God." So that's just like, keep walking with God, do what he says. There's another one in James 1:27, which is one of the few verses that actually has the word religion in it, speaking about religion. And this is what James says: "Pure and undefiled religion before God the Father is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained from the world." That's quite short, sharp. This is what true religion actually means. So we have to love God and love others. End of story. Not end of story, beginning of story, but you know what I'm saying. The final verse I'm going to do is Matthew 22:37. Now this is, again, a very sort of well-known verse. And interestingly, Jesus is saying this to the Pharisees, just before he launches on his kind of attack on them, right? This is just the few verses before that. So actually, one of the Pharisees says to him, when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, which were another group of kind of a religious Jewish sect, they came together, and one of them, an expert in the law, asked a question to test him. So they were always testing him and trying to catch him out. And they said, "Teacher, which command in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, so Jesus said to him, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and most important command, and the second is like it. Love your neighbour as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commands." I think that just about sums it up. Like, if we love God, if we truly love God, if our hearts are right with him, and we're seeking his face in everything, then that love will shine out, and we will in turn love other people. Now, sometimes loving other people, sometimes loving ourselves can be, we're all works in progress. That can be a work in progress, because it doesn't come like that overnight, flash of lightning. We're just the most lovable people in the world, the most loving, I should say, people in the world. But if we, God changes our hearts. Like Jesus was saying to those Pharisees, the inside of you is just a mess and horrible, and on the outside you look like you're perfect. What we're saying, I think, as Christians is we are far from where we should be. Like, we are so not perfect. This is what I'm saying. I am so not perfect. And that is why I know that I need a saviour. I need Jesus, because no way in the world can I reach that level of perfection that God needs on my own. No way. And if we, it starts off with that decision. It starts off with deciding that we want to be in relationship with our Creator. And from there, it's, we're seeking him, we're praying, we're, reading the Bible, which is like his just amazing guidebook, life-giving words in this book. And if we're doing this on a daily basis and we're seeking his face, and that we're loving him, we're worshipping him. I speak in a separate video about worship. It's that devotion. We are devoted to him. Now, devotion is 100% a heartfelt thing. I don't think you can really be devoted to something that you don't care about. I don't believe that. So we are devoted and we love God. And, in turn, that love shines out. That love we should be touching other people. Like, we should be loving other people. And yes, and practically speaking, yes, we need to be helping the poor and the widows, and we need to be helping practically people as well, whether we do that by going somewhere to help or by helping financially with something. But we need to be different from the world, and God can help us to be different from the world. So that's all the verses I was going to do. And then I read something. There's a website called exploregod.com, which has actually got some really good stuff on it. And there was an article by Aaron Armstrong, which was speaking about exactly this, religion and what it was, what it wasn't. But he said, ultimately, this is what true religion is. It's not to earn God's approval or pay him back for what he's done in our lives, but simply because we want to, because we love him. That's it. It's the beginning of a journey. So religious, am I religious? I guess you could say that I am religious, but I want it to be true religion, not false. Yeah, I think I've probably said enough, but do comment, like this video. If you have any other any other ideas for topics, whatever to speak about, then do let me know. Okay, speak to you soon. Bye.